Esta conferencia comenzará a grabarse.
So, welcome everybody. As usual, I will make a brief introduction while we wait for the official start of the morning session. Okay, you know that we have been dedicating this month morning sessions to analyze the different industrial ecosystems and to study how they link with the current EU priorities, not only EU, also national and regional priorities, okay, but especially the national recovery plans. So the proposal for today is take a look at not what had happened, okay, but where are we and what can we do for the next month, years, on developing our networks, okay, but also aligning their activities with the global priorities for Europe or for our countries. And in order to do that, today we are going to speak about digital, and we have two very special guests. So I'm really glad to hear today the experiences and the knowledge and the recommendation from Bianca Montean from Transylvania IT Cluster and Vasco Lagarto from TAIS Portugal. Okay, I'm sure that we will have also many others ICT practitioners and experts here with us. So after hearing them, we will open the floor for everyone. It will be an open dialogue, and my recommendation is to be proactive, to take the opportunity to share your proposals, and don't mind if they are disrupted. That's probably what we need. We need to see new possibilities and be creative. So this is our best opportunity for today. Okay. I need also to say that digital is not only ICT sector, in my experience. Okay, we are speaking about the industrial ecosystem digital. Okay, that is, as you can see in this brief definition, is covering telecommunications, software and programming, web portals, manufacturing of computers and equipment. This is the classical approach. I understand that probably the Commission has followed a classification by NACEX. Okay, so we are speaking here about digital and the ICT sector, but we need to look for how digital is mixing, and it's a key technology for all the rest of the ecosystems. I think that we need to keep that in mind. I am using this moment also to show you the numbers, the statistics that we have, the last statistics. So digital covers something like 4.5% of the EU value added. It's 1 trillion in turnover, the sector for Europe, near 5.3 million employees and near 900,000 companies. That are, for me, impressive numbers, but mostly what is impressive, the influence of digital on all the rest. Okay, so if our digital sector is doing well, the rest have great opportunities to advance. If not, we could have problems. I think that's what we need to think about. And I need also to say that collaboration is at the heart of the digitalization processes. Collaboration is at the heart of our projects. It's nearly impossible to develop ICT projects isolated. So I think that we can be also, I include myself, I work on digitalization. We are a kind of guide, a model sometimes for how different functions, different professions, different profiles can collaborate in one common goal. So that is my introduction, and now I want to let Bianca Muntean share with us your views. Bianca, should I give you the presentation rights?
If you can present it, if you have my last version, it's easier for me not to focus on too many tasks in the same time. Thank you very much, Antonio and Nina, for your invitation. It is a great pleasure to be with you in these meetings, and I think that the European Clusters Alliance is doing a really great job bringing us together with very specific topics and knowledge exchange opportunities between the clusters all over Europe. So I will use the next 10 minutes to speak about our experience from northwestern Romania in Eastern Europe, our experience as an IT cluster, but also as the coordinators of the Digital Innovation Hub, Transylvania Digital Innovation Hub. So if you are passing to the next slide, please, Antonio. We are located, as I told you, in northwestern part of our country, and we are the largest ICT cluster in Romania. We are gold labeled, and we are having more than currently 120 companies actually. These are startups, small and medium-sized enterprises, large companies, but also we are having the main universities from our region, and also public administration and different catalyzer institutions. So what we are working on, I think you already might be acquainted to it, but just briefly, we are working in supporting innovation and in bridging entrepreneurship research between entrepreneurship research, innovation, and public administration. Our main focus is, of course, to support and to promote the digitalization process across different industries, but also in the public administration at all levels, local, regional, and national. Next slide, please. Regarding the recovery, because I spoke a lot with Nina, and we've exchanged some views regarding our approach. She recommended us to focus more on our plans for the future, because we had the opportunity to meet several times during the past 6 months, and we've presented in various occasions what we have been doing and what's our focus. Of course, this is a time for all of us, a time of finding a solution to a lot of challenges brought by the COVID crisis, but also it's a time when a lot of planning and strategies are being made for the next programming period, 2021-2027. And what we are doing this time differently is to put a lot of bottom-up approach. A lot of the challenges the real market is facing, to stay very, very close to the policymakers, regardless they are at the local, regional, national, or European level, and to give them a real-time picture of what is happening in the economy. And as I tell you many times in our presentations, of course, the situation is not the same all over Europe, but also the situation is not the same regarding different fields of activity. And we see some sectors like tourism and also hospitality, which had a really struggle during last times because of COVID. And we see other industries like ICT, for example, which did better during these times because they were used to put all their activity in online. And of course, there is also an impact given by the clients of our ICT companies, but also a lot of requests regarding digital transformation started to come towards our industry. So this tackling of the challenges is quite differently seen if we are speaking from one sector point of view or from the others. So we tried to continue our work, our business as usual. And of course, we continued to implement our programs, but also we continued to identify new ways in implementing this project. Because, for example, we are very focused on bringing this digital upskilling and reskilling of the workforce in our region. And we were forced to rethink our projects, which were foreseen to take place in offline environment. We had to take everything online, and we had a really great feedback and a good impact by continuing to deliver these training courses, technical training courses in online environment. Next slide, please. Also, what we try to do is to have a real-time feedback from our member companies, from the public administration, and also from the universities regarding the challenges during this time. Because we cannot pretend that everything is like before COVID, because it's not. And we really don't know what it will come and in the next months or next years. So we really have to adapt to the needs, to the real needs from the market, to the needs the public administration has, to the needs the small and medium-sized enterprises are having, and also to the needs the research sector is facing. So we as the clusters, as representative of the ecosystem, as the catalyzers in this ecosystem, we have a very important and proactive role. And this is what we did. We tried to take a proactive approach, and we spoke with everyone, but I mean everyone which was involved in the digital transition, and also regarding the implementation of resilience and recovery plan for our country. And as you might know, the European Commission made some recommendations regarding their public documents regarding the resilience and recovery plan for Europe. And of course, the next generation EU approach, which will be used to tackle the most crucial recovery needs from the member states. But each member state has to implement in its own country these measures. And this recovery and resilience plan the recovery plan is mostly dedicated to the most affected regions from the COVID. What happens in Romania, and this should be the situation also in the other countries, central level nationally, and it will be implemented through the regional development agencies. So this task force, which is created by the national government, will also have several partners for implementation, but the main directions will be decided at the central level. We, as a cluster, as an ecosystem representative, will be here to respond to any reply and request made by the national or regional representative, public institution representatives, but also to disseminate and to digest this information for our members, regardless they are companies or local public administrations from our region or the research part. So this knowledge base we have been created in the past year, it's very, very good, and it's helping us to support the implementation of the recovery plan for Europe. And I think that this approach can be used by each and every cluster at the EU level. And if you want, Antonio, you can take us to the next slides, because I used to present this stuff, and maybe some of you are quite familiar with the project we are running. But anyhow, this is a public information and it's available on our website and on our social media. But I wanted to focus more on what's our approach in our relation with the public administration taking care of implementation of the recovery plan for Europe in our country. And this proactive approach proved to be a winning approach, because we are in very close contact with the national authority for digitalization of Romania, which is a central body under the coordination of the Prime Minister of Romania. And they are coordinating actually all the public policies regarding the digital transformation at the national level. Of course, working with the Ministry of Economy, with the part taking care of digital transformation of economy, but also working with other ministries, for example, for digital transformation of the public administration, local public administrations all over Romania. And for example, our cluster is member of the task force, which is drafting the digital transformation strategy for our city, Cluj-Napoca. And this is seen as a good example also at the national level. And it will be used in order to implement this approach in several other regions all over the country. And of course, our flagship project is the Digital Innovation Hub, because we want to support this digital transformation at the national, regional, and local level through the Digital Innovation Hub, to Transylvania Digital Innovation Hub, and through the specific activities which we will perform within our ecosystem, because beside our cluster, we have here involved all the clusters from the Northwestern Clusters Consortium. And I'm very happy to see here my colleague, Felix Arion, who is representing the agricultural cluster, and we are tackling with him the digital transformation of the agricultural sector, and of course working with the other colleagues from the furniture, creative industries, aerospace, energy cluster. I think we can go to the final slide, because I'm very happy to open the floor and to give you some concrete examples of projects we are running currently. In Romania, the process of selecting digital innovation hubs was closed in September, and during October, the results at the national level, the selected digital innovation hubs from Romania, which will be recommended to apply to the EU call of the Digital Innovation Hub for the Digital Europe program, will be published, and we hope to to be on that list. And of course, I remain to your disposal for further questions and discussion. And these slides which we've created and which are summarizing our activities and projects, because on the next slide, I would kindly ask you, Antonio, to go further. There are our projects and the concept we are using under our Digital Innovation Hub. We will be very happy to exchange knowledge and best practices with you. We are very open to collaborate with our colleagues from all over Europe and to exchange best practice experience and to see how each of us can take care of digital transformation, us as a clusters in our own countries, but also how can we join forces in order to create this change in implementing and supporting twin green and digital transition at the EU level. Thank you very much, and I'm looking forward for the discussions.
Thank you to you, Bianca. You are very welcome. I am sure that we'll come back to you soon in the discussion. So, but now it's time to say hello to Vasco Lagarto from Portugal. Hello, Vasco.
Good morning, everybody, and thank you very much. I will connect to the camera for a few seconds. I think, yes. And thank you again. Hello. Thank you again for the invitation. And I have a small presentation, and Antonio, if you can, please give me the presentation, right? Yes. I will try to be brief.
Okay. No, I was going to say that for those of you that doesn't know, Vasco is also very, very active member of the European Cluster Alliance in representation of Portugal, and he's one of the core members of this European Alliance against coronavirus. So it's I'm really glad to hear you and to have you sharing your views, Vasco. Please go on.
Thank you very much. Okay, let's try.
We are not, yes, now, perfect. Go on, please.
Well, thank you very much for the invitation. I will try my best in order to present my ideas. And as Antonio mentioned before, digital, in fact, is transversal to all sectors. It doesn't live by itself. It depends on the others. That's why I used to say that digital has a symbiotic relation with all the other sectors. And also, digital is crucial to support the Green Deal and circular economy challenges, among others. It allows to measure and take actions, allow to forecast and correct the roadmap of any sector. And to me, digital is built. I have some difficulties. Okay. So digital is built in three main areas. So that's the electronics, telecommunications, and the information system. And with these ingredients, we are able to produce bits and bytes that can help us to create, I think, a better world. In fact, bits and bytes can help us to give a good bite in a strawberry. And bits and bytes cannot healing us, but can facilitate that. And bits and bytes cannot transport me, but but can increase the safety of my transport and offer me alternatives. And the bits and bytes cannot keep me safe, but help cities to be safer and cozy. And bits and bytes cannot keep me away from the rain, but can help to build better and comfortable houses. And I could carry on to give some more examples about this. But the fundamental thing is that, and I reinforce it, there is a symbiotic relation with all the other sectors, and in fact, with life. Digital grows if the other sectors grow, and vice versa. Now, what happened during COVID? Work, schools, students, teachers, meetings, healthcare, and even culture, everybody went home. So home became the center of our family, social and working activities, and will continue for some time. And in some cases, I know that some companies take advantage of the experience of the remote working, and they decide to continue. So they, at this moment, they have no physical installations, only a place to receive mail, and that's all. So it's something that will change our future. So we went home, and home became the center of our activity. What are the implications? Now, residential connections must be improved. And we faced some problems, for instance, in some of our meetings, where we faced that the connections were not good enough in order to implement the meeting. But it's not only the physical connection to the home, also the Wi-Fi coverage inside the home should be improved. Because at this moment, we have 2, 3, 4 people working, studying, teaching, and so on. Also, in terms of network, the contention factor should be reduced. This means that there will be an increased traffic in the core network that should cope with that. And also, again, the interconnection between networks should be upgraded in order to cope with all the traffic. Now, because we are dealing with bits and bytes, you cannot throw me tomatoes or eggs. I would say that probably we should rethink some of the investments. Use 5G, for instance, where there is real added value. Implement national roaming among operators to improve coverage, and many things to think about. Let's come back again to the presentation. So, learnings. At this moment, I think that we use only video to transport us, but we can increase the capabilities, at least in some applications. Why not use virtual and augmented reality applied to the learning and teaching process, or to support informal health actions, or invest in robotics to extend our capabilities? So that's some of the challenges that I think that we could try to implement in the near future. And I'm not talking about using holograms or something like that. I think that will come in the next future. Now, I want to talk about the delicate issue, data. Is that important? Are really we taking care of it? Is not data important for all sectors? Is digital assuming its responsibilities on preserving and ensure data, that data is available to be used? So where is data to apply the beautiful things that we are creating with artificial intelligence? Okay, in the past, we talked about digital sovereignty. I think that the European Commission is already doing something about that. But if we think at mobile picture, we have something like 400 million smartphones in Europe. And as you know, a smartphone is used not only to phone. It has a lot of sensors that provide information about where we are, how fast we move, how fast is beating our heart, the places we go, the different Wi-Fi spots that we cross, the calls that we make, the messages, the site we visit, and so on. So there is quite a lot of data that is collected by these handy terminals. And this data is not only personal because we are using these terminals 24 hours a day, every day. But in fact, these marvelous terminals, essential for our daily life, are based in two platforms that are collecting quite a lot of this information. When I started work many years ago, my boss told me to negotiate, we have to know. And the best way to know is to do, to build. And that's the challenge that we have to face now. We have to use the crisis to be disruptive, to make a new start. So, my challenge, build an European mobile platform to preserve and use the data that we are producing. Look at this as a defense issue. To reinforce this data issue, Europe is also supporting strongly a project called SKA. The project will produce quite a lot of data, more than the data that is produced by the whole internet today. And that data should also be processed and stored in Europe. For that, we have to be prepared. Additional, we have the smart cities. I changed one of the slides, but no problem. So my challenge is, in fact, to implement a public-private partnership devoted to this area, to increment research in the mobile, to foster innovation, to operate and maintain, and to lead, again, Europe as a lighthouse, again, as in the past, in the mobile networks. So that's the project that I was talking about. This project is based in Africa and Australia, and will produce quite a lot of data that will come to Europe to be processed and to be used to identify other value things like in the agriculture and the weather and so on. Also, smart cities will grow and produce quite a lot of information. We want to involve the citizen. And again, the mobile terminals will be essential for that. A few words about Portugal. In the recovery plan for the transition, digital transition, we have a budget of 3,000 million euros. So that means 300 euros per inhabitant. And from this 3,000 million, we have 700 million applied to schools, 500 applied to companies, and 1.8 thousand million applied for public departments. After we have also 2.5 million, thousand million to innovation and training. By the way, in the schools, one of the ideas is to give access to a computer for the students. And this means that we are proposing to create a platform in order to manage these computers, to be sure that they are used to study and not to do other things or to be misused, or if they are stolen, to try to recover them. Okay, so in summary, data should be treated as a fundamental material, like the other ones. We have already talked about the possibility to identify new ways to obtain materials that we need. Also, we talk about circular economy in order to recover some of those materials. So materials are important. So is data. So also data should be considered as a defense issue. And Europe should create conditions to have a word on this, being a lighthouse again. Again, create a PPP. Think that if each mobile operator for each SIM card contribute to this PPP with half euro, there will be something like 250 million euros per year. If the Commission put the same quantity, we have almost 500 million to do this job. I think we should think about it. So assume that data is a rare material and vital, like the other materials, because they are important to all sectors. Now, you only can throw me bits and bytes and not tomatoes or eggs. Thank you very much.
You are very welcome. Excellent presentation, Pascal. Congratulations. And so we have on our table some challenges and very good ideas, proposals. Now it's time to share with every one of you. Who wants to comment or question or add suggestions?
Yes, Antonio, good morning. As I don't make a question some days ago, can I make a brief comment and question to Bianca? Bianca, congratulations for your excellent presentation and for your excellent experience and work. In these times very complex and uncertain that we are living, there are two words or two messages that are becoming very important for clusters, ecosystems, and things like that. That is open innovation and collective intelligence. In your case, in your digital cluster, how do you deal with your stakeholders and your members in this open innovation and collective intelligence agenda?
Thank you very much for your question, Jaime. We are working for the past 4 or 5 years promoting the open innovation concept. Actually, one of the main promoters from the European Commission, Mr. Bror Salmelin, he used to work in DigiConnect, now he retired. He's one of our mentors, working with us for more than 20 years, actually. For us, it was really important working in an environment really affected by a communist mentality to promote the open innovation concepts and the collective intelligence. When I started to work in the IT field approximately 10 years ago, there was still a time when the universities were considering themselves to be the only owners of knowledge and the only capable institutions to make innovation, for example. And we were very happy to promote together with my colleagues from the other clusters this concept of open innovation through our activities, our daily, weekly activities, meetings, and also through our conferences. Our conference in 2016 was entitled Open Innovation Conference. And actually in 2017, we succeeded to organize in Cluj-Napoca, which is not the capital of Romania, but we succeeded to bring here the Open Innovation 2.0 conference with a lot of experts from all over Europe and all over the world, actually. We had also guests from Japan and South Africa. And for us, it was really important to bring closer to the companies, to our member companies, this concept of open innovation, and also not only to the companies, but also to the universities, to determine them to walk the talk, because they were speaking about the open innovation. But during these iterations, we succeeded to actually do some projects together. And also the biggest surprise was the public administration. The public administration, we started to understand the added value of the open innovation approach and of the collective intelligence advantage, actually, in our city. And our cluster, together with our colleagues from the other fields of activity, from agricultural cluster, from furniture, energy, creative industries, we are organizing an innovation camp each year in our city, in which we are using our knowledge, experience, collective intelligence to come with innovative solution to the main challenge our community is facing. So for us, it's a very dear to us subject. We are trying to approach it from different angles with the different type of stakeholders. And I'm really happy about the road we are on. We still have a lot of work to do, of course, but I think we are doing important steps in this direction.
Thank you very much, Bianca. So I see one question from Jan Martin. Hello, Jan Martin. Welcome. Would you tell us about your question?
With pleasure, and good morning. It's been fascinating to listen again to these very good presentations, and it really makes me think more about how digital in these special times connects also to other main challenges. Obviously, the green challenge, resilience, it's the words we always hear, and I think it's very good to think through how they relate with each other. And it seems really also from the presentations that the digital challenge or the digital opportunities help us tremendously with being resilient. The fact that we all work, many work from us from home, wouldn't have been possible without. We wouldn't have been as productive without digital. But also the way in which digital helps the value chains and the sectors that you mentioned, Bianca, is very important. And also many opportunities indeed now in the health crisis itself. I downloaded the Corona app just last night. So also digital will help us in the fight against disease and health. But the main question I have is how all the things work positively. That's fantastic. But the risk of a digital divide. And we also, of course, have in the EU documents the need to have a more balanced and a fair Europe, and really see that that is very difficult. Obviously, that may not be the main focus for cluster managers like yourselves, but nevertheless, it would be good to see how we can make and what your thoughts are about, let's say, the inclusiveness and how to ensure that all generations and all parts of society take part in this digital wave. Thank you.
I can start, and then I will also ask Vasco to share from his experience. You are right, Jan, and of course we are very happy about, as you said, our positive results. Nevertheless, Cluj-Napoca and our region is quite a well-developed region. And there are several other regions in Romania which are not doing that well regarding digital skills and digital transformation project implementation. And first, I would like to mention one of our programs at the local level, together with the municipality, Cluj-Napoca municipality. We came up with the knowledge and trainers, and we put together a program called Digital Seniors, which is addressed to the senior population in our city. And at first we thought to provide them with the knowledge on how to use their mobile phone or their computers in order to interact with their relatives which are living maybe abroad or they cannot visit them. And then at their request, actually, we also introduced modules on how can they pay taxes, not to be necessary to go physically to the city hall to pay their taxes, and also how to use the e-commerce website in order to buy their stuff they were needing. And during COVID, these trainings, which we've organized in 2018, 2019, proved to be very useful. And also, you know, solving some current issues, some current problems they were having, but also in socializing with themselves, because they're not allowed to go outside their homes. And actually, every 2 weeks, we are organizing together with some volunteers and some other NGOs from our city bingo nights, some socializing events with the senior population. And what we did in order to multiply the effect of this initiative, we spoke with people from the national government and gave them all our training material, which actually was conceived in one way. But after running it several times, we've adapted to the requirements of the senior participants. And we think that it is a really good material to use in order to put in place in each community this type of trainings. And the City Hall knows how to reach this senior population. So these partnerships in the cities, using our training material, we recommend it to be implemented. Of course, the government changed. The people we were speaking to last year were replaced, and we took this project to the new persons. Honestly, I didn't follow to see what happened in other regions or cities, but it's important to look also to the less developed regions. And even if I'm speaking only about Romania, it's really important not to create only islands of digital transformation, but to do it all over the territory of EU and of Romania. But this can be made. It's for me, and I'm speaking only from my personal experience, without having the public sector aside and involved, it's almost impossible to do it as a private cluster, NGO or things like that. And I don't think this is the way to work. I think it's a partnership. I think the state and the governments are obliged to look also to the less developed regions and to come up with different solutions. And we are very happy to support, if needed, any of these initiatives, and to put our experience, our knowledge in the benefit of everyone.
Very good, thank you.
Thank you, Bianca. Vasco, I would like to hear you on this topic.
Thank you very much, everyone. Well, first of all, I think that is a challenge for each of us. So we are part of the society, so we should look a little bit around and see what we can do. A second point is, in the past sessions, we have been talking about the social things, social clusters, and the economic clusters. So maybe a closer relationship among these areas should be also important and helpful. Another point is, I think that we should look also at the schools and local projects that are around in each community. I didn't mention that, but there is a LoRa network around Europe, and that LoRa network can help us to initiate small projects where people can be involved. Also, people around cities, they start to implement things related with agriculture. So maybe we could try to relate universities and schools and try to build some sensors to help this. So it's an indirect way to involve people in these digital things. In Portugal, we have a program called Encode 2030 that, in fact, tries to tackle these challenges in a public, let's say, way, but also involving the schools and institutes and so on. So, but well, it's something that we should work, but probably it will happen. But again, I think that we shouldn't stop all the development, and we should try to push for those that are a little bit more away of this of this action. So I think that each one should be an active actor in this process.
I totally agree, Vasco. And as you said, we have had very good examples on how can we industrial clusters link with the social one and with the social realities. And I will highlight that, in fact, the technological movements from the makers, the makers community in the different countries were one excellent example on how those people that are working, in fact, most of them were working or are working on ICT companies or environments, can engage with the society. That, in fact, they engage with the needs of the society. And how can industrial cluster also support them in those moments? And I want to highlight that during the first week, for example, here in Spain, we donate tons of materials for those communities. And I know that I am speaking about a very concrete example, okay, very concrete moment, but I will say that there are many examples on how companies and clusters are trying to reduce that gap that we are speaking out, the problems of the gap between different societal communities. Okay, so thank you, and I would like to invite any other to question or ask. I see that Marek is sharing one question or comment. I don't know what policy incentives could help clusters beside funding to accelerate uptake of digital technologies in traditional industries. Yeah. Marek, will you comment?
Yeah, I just wonder, because it were excellent discussions and actually incentivized me to extract as well from your experience from practitioners. You know, policy makers need to create policy instruments and or use which are in other places. Funding is of course obvious, but the others. In particular, we know, and this is something which is linked to what Jean-Marc was saying about the digital gap. It's geographically, but as well, it's about having the digital gap across ecosystems. Some are more inclined to uptake the digital solutions than the others. What kind of, from your practitioner experience, still policy instruments you would see as the most useful? Thanks.
Who wants to answer?
I think it would be interesting to find out from the colleagues representing some traditional industries, because also they are tackling this topic. I don't know if Felix is still around, or some other colleagues from other clusters not directly related to the digital.
While we wait for others, okay, I have one direct suggestion. I think that it's very important, and it's something that depends sometimes of the policymakers. Okay, it's very important to be included as an official representative of our entities on some roundtables or expert groups or calls, okay, for not just for funding, but for studying strategies. Right? Or so one of the, I think the things that will support us better is if we are recognized as an important agent on on those negotiations. For example, on the digital path for skills at high level or a low level, okay? And this is for me something that doesn't always happen, okay? And there are some areas where we are very active, but not very well recognized. I don't know if the rest of the attendants agree with me or not, but it's really important for us.
Also, what we've been noticing, because we are working with our colleagues from the other clusters, yet not all the benefits of the digital transformation are known from the non-IT companies. And here we can help a lot in actually working and creating context, even online, context of discussions between companies from different fields of activity, but having the topic digital transformation, for example. Because at least in Romania, we've been running some studies and we noticed that the benefits of digital transformation are not fully perceived or embraced by the non-IT companies, for example, if we are referring to the private sector. And these are things that we can do with our colleagues through a cross-sectoral approach, like bringing the people together and trying to put them to speak the same language. Also, for the IT companies, for example, for the solution providers, it's really important to understand the businesses they are trying to digitalize or to identify digital solutions for. So I think that this type of cross-sectoral collaboration, dialogue, in order to have them to speak the same language, it's an important thing.
Thank you, Bianca. Any other comment? I think also that, yeah, we could speak about other kind of support scheme, not only depending on for our projects, not only depending of funding. Okay, our companies are making strong investment, and so there could be other kind of support for them. In, for example, the information. I don't know. It's a very good question, Marek, that we should think about. In my mind. Thank you. Okay, so we have 3 minutes. Yeah. Go on, please.
Just on this, because actually digital innovation hubs meant to, and they are still meaning to have this role of accelerating the uptake of digital technologies across. But this is, however, again from the ICT perspective. But I think clusters, particularly us, can complete it in a way where you are bringing the knowledge of non-ICT clusters together with the ICT clusters, together with digital innovation hubs, and then try to accelerate, because the culture is different. In agri-food business, culture is different than in construction business, is different than in tourism business, is different. And you need to have different like attraction and accessibility channels to beneficiaries and to the of the digital solutions. I mean, if you have people very much in remote rural areas in agriculture, it convince them to move the precision farming needs to have different communication channel as well to get to them. You will not reach them with fancy ICT cluster or digital innovation hub from the you know, ICT hub going there because he would never be able to communicate to them. So I think this requires indeed many innovative policy instruments from the public administration as well. That's why I put the question, because we need inspirations for this. Thanks a lot.
You are very welcome. So it's time to close.
Antonio?
Yes.
Antonio?
Yes. Go on.
Hi. This is Paulo from Portuguese Railways cluster. I think that, first of all, thank you, Bianca and Vasco, for your presentation. I think what Vasco has put it on the table, it is so important that we all clusters must look at it. On these times of effort on digitalization, data and data collection, it is so relevant and so important that we should promote the discussion when to go into digitalization. We should go along what to do with data, how to collect data, how to protect data. And this goes to all the clusters. It involves everything and everybody. So this is very relevant. And Vasco has highlighted very well. Data collection in these times is very important, and we clusters should look very deeply into it. And how can we protect this data along all our actions? This is so relevant that we need highlighted the most as possible. Thank you. Have a nice day.
I totally agree, Paulo. And I think that Vasco's presentation has been brilliant on the different proposals. And we could speak about data a lot.
Just a small add, Antonio, to everybody. Today, almost all the smartphones that we have, they provide data to, well, they use Android and iOS. So we have no alternatives. So my challenge is, in fact, to create an alternative platform that could be used, because, in fact, the market is so big in Europe that it's not difficult to have a strong voice on this. Thank you.
No, and in fact, we are proposing to create, and there are documents on Europe about data, the data strategy, and it's part of the document on the recovery plan. Okay, the challenge is how to afford it, how to really be really make movements that put us on a leading position. Okay. And probably cluster, we are key on that, because we need to, in data, one of the keys is the standardization, if you want to call it, okay, or the agreements that we, in fact, one of our main projects in IDEA, in the cluster that I manage, is the data on the industrialization processes, okay. So I'm totally convinced. And perhaps we could promote a kind of data network, if you want, or big data project. I am speaking now as Antonio Novo Idea, not as ECA, but we could promote a wide project on this, okay, a really ambitious project, or if you want a Euro cluster on data, okay, on data management, if you want, because I'm totally convinced that is key, as you say. But we need to go deep on it. We need to, if we want to do it right, we need to see which kind of data. Probably through cluster we are covering all of kinds, okay, but are we speaking about yes, industrialization, or smart cities, data on health, data on energy, yeah, and what kind of infrastructure do we need, do we have, what kind of capacities? And the key for me will be if we are able to create a strong market services and companies around that, able to compete at global level. And again, probably clusters we could be the best approach for that, because the key is to link, and not only to have one big company, but to link many others. So I would say that even I don't see it as a topic for a morning session. I see it as a topic for a consortia, if you want. Okay, really serious.
I already gave this a suggestion. Build a public-private partnership, and so that's already a mechanism that exists in Europe, and that can help at least to start the issue. I think it will be very important, but that's my personal view also. Thank you very much.
As we agreed, we could move it, we could start it and see who joins, okay? But and it could be a very good proposal for the Commission if we are able. I have received some data while we were speaking. There are 450 clusters in Europe working on ICT. That's a lot. Probably it's the biggest number that we have on clusters. If we will be able to join a significant number of them on a ambitious project on making us leader, really leader, or aligning, because Europe has declared the intention to lead, to be leader on this point. So we could try to really define ambitious proposals and put at the disposal of that project thousands of companies, and it will be wonderful. And we have leaders also for that. We have many others, okay? And through this morning session, we have received a lot of people working on extremely interesting projects. So I would say, let's look how to work on it, because really the challenge, the opportunity is there, and the challenge is there also. So thank you, and that is an open idea that remain pending to answer. Okay, we can look for answers for that. Thank you very much. Very important. Very important.
Many thanks.
Tomorrow we are going to make a common exercise of summarizing what has been said, the main messages that we have taken during this month, and we want to build a declaration, for sure from the private side. It could not be official from the European Commission, so only the private side, only the European Cluster Alliance will be the author and the signer of the declaration. But we want to make a common declaration on what we have learned, what we think on our possible roles for the futures, okay, plans. And so you are invited to join us tomorrow and to contribute to that common declaration. Thank you again, Bianca, Pasco, Marek, Paulo, Jan Martin, so many of you that has been very proactive and participating on this session. Thank you, and I hope to see you soon.
Thank you,
Bye-bye.
Antonio.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.